it's me, James, and I just wanted to take a moment to wish you all a happy new year. I am filming this video on January the 1st, 2025, and I am just chilling for the day, at least part of the day. I probably will go out and work later in the day, but for now, I am chilling. I have been having a wonderful morning with the cards. I have been working with my latest Oracle card deck creation, and that is the Mitchell Numbers Oracle. And it is new, so I'm finding all ways to work with it to kind of form a stronger bond and connection and develop meanings for the cards beyond the ones that I had in my mind when I created each individual card. So as I was laying out the reading that I was doing for myself for the month of January, and I do a 9-card box for my monthly readings. As I was doing that, I had the idea that I would do one for the channel. And I was going to be using my Kipper deck. So my Kipper deck that I made, and I made this, I'm looking at the title card. I made this in 2023. I make so many decks, I tend to lose sight of the time when I made them. But this is the Kipper of Himm. And again, I made this in 2023. I have been using it for my weekly Oracle Outlook video readings. I made 2, I believe, using this deck or featuring this deck. And a number of you liked the deck. But it made me remember that I was also doing a series which I call Kipper Cards by Category for my Kipper peeps out there who asked me to do more Kipper card related content. And I thought that this would be a great way to satisfy the requests of those particular viewers by doing, I'm looking at this as a monthly series of readings, and I'm going to be calling it the Kipper-Cast. Get it? Kipper and forecast. And I'm going to be doing a box reading at the top of each month, depending on my schedule. And so I figured today, with me being home and the idea being fresh in my mind, that I would go ahead and present to you all the Kipper-Cast for January 2025. So now let's get to the table and see how the cards unfold the story of the month of January 2025. And here we are with the cards on the table, and I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck. And I'm focusing on the question, since this is a Kipper-Cast for the month of January 2025, I'm asking what is in the cards, and that pun is indeed intended for the month of January 2025. Take a moment to shuffle the cards my other way. Okay, one more. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. This is just part of my own personal process of working with the cards. And now I'm going to fan them out. Because for this reading, I'm going to be working with a 9-card box. When I work with cards in my own personal practice, I tend to do 1 or 3 cards for a daily, 3 to 5 cards for a weekly, and then I like to do a 9-card box for a monthly. So that's what I'm going to be doing for this Kipper-Cast. 4, 5. I'm just looking for cards in the fan that are getting my attention. I believe that's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have the 9 cards. I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up, and I'm going to move that to the side. I'm going to gather the cards up. I'm going to count back. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's my check. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay them out. And I lay out my 9 card box in the order that I selected the cards. So this is card 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7, 8, and 9, like so. Okay, so now I'm just going to take a moment to look and make sure that they're somewhat straight. All right, so now when I work with a 9 card box, I look to card 5 first. So card 5 for me is going to be the focus because it is in the middle of the square, the outer square. So this is like the focus, the heart of the matter, central issue, things like that. So for the month of January, we have the sorrow card. Okay, so sorrow in traditional Kipper cartomancy is also known as grief and adversity. So here we have a card that talks about stress. So the focus here, and I'm always going to give my disclaimer when I do these readings, is that not everything that is stated through the cards is going to resonate with 100% of the viewers who land on this video. So take what resonates and then just discard the rest. Because as I always say, the truth is what doesn't resonate with you or for you will resonate with and for someone else. Okay, but at the center here, this is the stress card. So for the month of January, as it unfolds, there may be issues directly related or that are going to be stress inducing. The other thing that I get from this card is that, and this is just in a personal meaning from working with the cards, he has his head leaning against the wall. So that is, you know, being in situations in which you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, which is a metaphor for, you know, trying to approach a situation, trying to resolve a situation and feeling like you're not getting anywhere with it, like you're just wasting your time, your energy, and your efforts, yeah? And then the other one that I have for this card is that it can represent headaches in the literal sense. So, and I have to put my disclaimer here that I am not a medical professional, but in my own personal experience, this card for me can represent headaches and migraines. I, as a person, experience those, so I always pay attention when I get this card because it can mean that you're going to be moving through the experience of headaches or migraines. Now, if we make that more metaphorical, just like the banging your head against the wall metaphor, this could be dealing with things that seem like they are headaches, okay? And so then the last thing I will say is that this is a red bordered card. So this for me is a stop card. So the stop cards can suggest things that are slowing down, things are not progressing, and wouldn't that make sense with the, you know, banging your head against the wall, or things that are stressful or stress inducing, or things that seem like headaches, you know? It could be part of the reasoning for that, or part of the experience behind that is that, you know, things are just not moving forward, right? Okay, so now once we look at the focus card, then I move to the opening. So this is the opening for, again, January 2025. And I had a feeling that this card would show up in this Kipper-Cast. And so first thing I want to notice or make note of is the red border. So here we have another stop card. Interestingly enough, the card is courthouse. So courthouse is a card that can represent, in this day and age, I would say, it can represent things having to do with politics or the government, things of that nature. And we do in the United States have this month the transition of one president to the next president. And we will be having the presidential inauguration. So there may be something tied to that for people in terms of the stress, the grief, the sense of adversity, the challenges that people may be perceiving are going to happen, or anticipating are going to happen, things of that nature. Now, if it's not about the greater political landscape, it could be needing to right some wrongs in your own personal life. This is a card of justice, so it could be a matter of public affairs. So in the literal mundane sense, this could be having to do with things like with the DMV or something with City Hall in your locality, something on a local municipal scale on the other side of the spectrum of the larger political landscape type thing, right? So it could be needing to handle things with certain local, state, federal agencies, right? So there are those possibilities with courthouse, but I'm going to go into maybe in a more metaphorical sense that this could be about justice and feeling the need to right some wrongs. But the other thing I really wanted to point out is that they are two stop cards. Okay, so then once I look at the opening card for the month, I look at the closing. This would be maybe also to, what's triggering the need for the reading or why we're asking the question that we're asking, but I'm asking a very general question, right? Okay, so now so here we have main person 1. So this could be a man who is playing a significant role or part in the situation that's unfolding. Now, if I mirror the cards, meaning mirror courthouse and main person, this might be a nod to what I was talking about earlier with the transitions of presidents, right? So the other thing, maybe on a more mundane, level, if you're male and you're watching this video, main person 1 could represent you. And interestingly enough, we have what we call a line of sight read here because he is facing these two cards at the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see what those are. Also, too, these cards would be above his head. So this would be considered what's on his mind. Okay. And then it would be interesting to also do some knighting. So this card knights to him as well. And then this card knights to him as well. So it'll be interesting to see what those two cards are. Now, like I said, if you're a male and watching this video, this card would represent you. If you're a woman watching this video, this may be a man who's playing a significant role or part in the unfoldment of the month for you. Okay, so now again, if I mirror these cards, it could be there's a sense of sorrow or grief and adversity involving a man, right? If you're a woman watching this, involving a man for you, right? Or that you're feeling like you're banging your head against a wall regarding a man, right? Whoever the main person, male, gendered, in your life is. Now, this also reminds me of a message I got from a viewer this was in the last couple of days, asking me if courthouse could represent a divorce. And I replied that it could, especially if the cards marriage and coffin were in the same reading. With that, because I was thinking marriage and coffin would signify the ending of a marriage, right? But here it could also be, if we go with the idea that this combination could also represent a divorce. Here we have a legal matter, right? Courthouse that may be stressful or adverse, right? If it's people who are going through a divorce process, they may be adversaries, yeah? Or that the person, either one party, both parties are grieving, having to go through the experience of divorce, right? And I would say based on the cards, it could be the man involved in that situation could be experiencing it more than the other, or it could be even the converse, that the woman is experiencing that. But I find that very interesting because I did answer that question recently with a viewer. So I'm just putting that out there because it could that possibility could resonate with other people. Okay. So now what I tend to do after I look at the 3 cards in the diagonal the way I have, then I look at the columns. So since we're doing a Kipper-Cast for the month of January, so this could be like maybe the beginning of the month, middle of the month, end of the month, yeah? So let's take a look at the card beneath courthouse. And here we have great fortune. Now, interestingly enough, great fortune, even though it is a stop card, it is one, if not the best card in the Kipper deck. And it tends to outshine, because it's so positive, other challenging cards. So it outshines a card like sorrow. Okay, so great fortune represents blessings, abundance, luck, fortune, all those kinds of things, right? So it could be a matter of there is maybe a situation of a legal matter, or again with the more metaphorical idea of justice, and great fortune would indicate, that there may be some blessing or abundance or a great turn of events regarding whatever this courthouse card could be referring to, right? But again, great fortune can represent blessings, abundance, luck, and fortune. Okay, so now underneath that, but here we have a challenge. Even though great fortune is such a positive card, it is really being surrounded by two challenging cards. Again, sorrow, right? Next to it, but underneath it we have false person. Now, false person is a cause and effect card. So here we have something that is not on the up and up. So the false person can represent a situation that is bad, false, or a mistake. The image has a woman who is wearing a mask, so this card can represent pretense, insincerity, dishonesty, things like that. And how interesting is it that it mirrors courthouse? So this could be something on the political landscape. I'm going to go with that first because it seems to be a very significant card to come back to. That there's some sort of dishonesty, insincerity, mistakes, things that are going wrong, maybe some sort of deception, either involving politics as a whole, just generally speaking, or maybe some politicians in particular, if we go back to courthouse and main person, right? But something's being concealed. Now, cause and effect, the way it works is that this card here in the middle, between main person and false person, is what's being concealed, right? The mask, and there's not a card here, but the mask, and I may just draw one just out of curiosity on my part, but the mask would show the effect of the deception or the concealment or the dishonesty, yeah? So, but we'll come back to that. So there's going to be something here that's going to be like a mistake, something off. The challenge here with good fortune in the middle is that it could be like a blessing in disguise. With these two cards, I'm getting the expression of blessing in disguise. So something could happen, but it's going to be a blessing in disguise. But it may be involving maybe exposure of something that was trying to be kept under wraps. It's the best way I could put that, but that's what I'm seeing with these cards. Okay, so now let's take a look at the middle. Oh my gosh, here we have court official, right? So there may be something having to do with a legal matter again, because now we have courthouse and we have court official. Court official would indicate on some level like a ruling, a verdict, a decision being made. It represents neutrality because it usually represents a process involving a neutral third party. And now, if you note the border in my deck, the pink border represents a connector card. So it is connecting itself to courthouse, right? And the only other thing I could think of with all these red bordered cards, it could be, if it is about a legal matter, like a court case, it may be a court case that was maybe even stalled because of all the red bordered cards. Because again, the stop cards would suggest a situation that has not been progressing, not moving forward, that kind of thing, or has been kind of put on hold, if you will. Yeah. So I'm seeing that, but very interesting. Here we have courthouse and then court official right next to it, right? So again, it could represent a legal matter. It could represent something having to do with politics, But again, court official would represent a decision being made, a ruling of some kind, a verdict, that kind of thing, right? Now, court official also connects to sorrow. So there may be something having to do with a ruling decision that may involve stress, maybe stress inducing, or could lead to some sort of adversity or grief for people. So it'll be very interesting to see how this unfolds. I'm very, very interested in this. Okay. And then the other thing I could say with great fortune, it could be, if it is a court case, then it could be representing a great deal of money is involved with that. Because if you look at the image, I have the man who is surrounded by coins. So in the literal sense, it could be like money, a great deal of money, or it could be that there are some changes that are going to be coming into the picture, because the coins can represent change as a collective, right? Okay, so that's what I'm seeing with that. So now let's take a look at this card, because it's really intriguing, because we have it being associated with cause and effect. So here we have another stock card, and here we have the family room card. So here we have something involving a man, right, and his privacy. Family room can represent the interior of a space, right? So this could be a living room, but its chief meaning for me can represent privacy or intimacy. So there is something being concealed here that involves a man, and it may be coming to light in some shape, form, or fashion, right? Because the other thing here that I want to come back to is that court official knights to main person one. So there's going to be a ruling, a decision, something involving a man in particular, right? But it may be about him wanting to try and keep something hidden, because now remember, line of sight. So this is concealment. Concealment of what? Concealment of something of a private matter, something of an intimate nature, that kind of thing. Again, I'm really intrigued by these cards. Okay, so now let's move on to the next column here. At the top, we have unexpected money. So this is money changing hands for me. It could represent a surprise, right? So again, connecting, courthouse connects to that. So we have a legal matter, something having to do with politics, connected to this card, a decision, ruling, verdict, and then unexpected money. So money changing hands, right? And this card would imply that it's money. When unexpected money appears, it's money that a person did not necessarily work for. So this card can represent a bonus, but some kind of compensation that may not necessarily come through work. And wouldn't that make sense with courthouse here, right? So it could be a court ruling, verdict, decision involving money, and we have unexpected money and great fortune. Okay, and I will note another stop card, right? So again, the idea here may be the transfer of money was stalled for some reason, and then there's a ruling or a verdict that kind of maybe gets that going this month, or it's going to be highlighted this month. Yeah? Okay. And then above we have house. Oh, look at this. So now, again, another stop card. And it makes sense to some degree, because there are 5 categories in the Kipper deck, at least the way that I was taught and the way that I have the cards designed, and the majority of them are stop cards. So it makes sense to me that out of 9 cards, a majority of them are stop cards. All right, but here we have the house card. So now again, this would be what's on the man's mind, right? So this could be his personal life, again with family room, but his home life, his personal life, domestic affairs. We have a little bit of a dichotomy here between personal affairs and public affairs. And again, that would make sense here with family room, so somebody wanting something that is maybe more of a personal matter to stay private, right, versus being made public, right? And then we have this interesting thing. So, how much of your personal life do you share when you work maybe in a more public arena, so that's a much larger conversation to have. How much of your life does the public get to know about because you work in the public space or sphere, right? But yeah, so there's that. So there's something of a personal nature here involving a man and money. But for me, it's either something of a legal nature or having to do with politics, and a politician in particular. Okay, so now I said I was going to, just out of idle curiosity, I was going to pull another card to put in front of false person to see what might be the effect of the dishonesty. So I'm shuffling the cards. Okay, I'm going to cut the deck again. I'm putting away from me. I'm going to spread the cards out in the fan so I can pick one. You may be able to see some of that fan. Like you can see it over here in the corner. Okay, so I'm looking at the fan for a card, and I like this one. I'm going to put it in front of false person like that, and I'm just going to take the rest up. Okay, so now remember, false person is a cause and effect card. So here we have what's being concealed. Something having to do with intimacy, privacy, things of that nature involving a man. So again, if you're a woman watching this, it could be that something's being concealed and a man is playing a significant role or part in that, right? Or if you're the man watching this on a more mundane level, if it's not about the political landscape, something having to do with justice and the legal system, then it would be about you maybe trying to keep aspects of your life private versus public. Okay? All right. So here we have that. So now what would be the effect here? And here we have military person, another stop card. And so the effect here, military person can represent a person who is, again, in the public sphere, because this is about a person who is in the service. So that could be military service, but it could also represent all types of service occupations, right? And so now what's coming to me, if I go back to the idea of something having to do with politics or a legal matter, then this could be something involving military, veterans, things like that. It could also represent people who are service workers. So I'm thinking about people who are in unions, things like that. So I don't know, because I don't always have my finger on the pulse of these kinds of things. If there is a legal matter pending involving either veterans or union workers or something of that nature. But there is something that's being concealed, or maybe not being presented totally above board, and it's going to affect people who are either service workers, union workers, military personnel, veterans, things like that. The other thing here is that this card can also represent things that are ordered, structured, disciplined. And one of my personal messages with this card is that somebody needs to put their foot down, right? So here we have, and if I go knighting, here this card knights to sorrow now. So it could just be a matter of, in order to maybe move through the experience of grief, adversity, stress, people are getting to the point where they are putting their foot down, meaning that they're not going to take it anymore. And so that could be, again, certain groups of people. But again, this card would represent people who wear uniforms, people who are in service, but it's also about, the other thing this card can represent, just came to me, is that people who follow the rules, follow policies, procedures. So there's an implication here about rules, policies, procedures. That would make sense because it also knights to courthouse. Yeah. So it may be about that as well. Okay. And the last thing I will say, and this is extreme, if it is about politics, and this could be people who are militant in how they approach things. So that is the Kipper-Cast for the month of January 2025. I will say personally, as I wrap this up, I am very intrigued by this, and I will be looking to see how this could possibly unfold. So this is James Himm Mitchell signing off for my Kipper peeps, and I'm thinking about the ones who kind of asked me to continue the Kipper Cards by Category series. This is a wonderful addition to that. So I hope if you enjoyed those previous videos that you enjoyed this. And again, with the idea that you get to see the Kipper cards in action and in interaction with each other. And it's going to be a way for you to further your personal Kipper card practice. So again, James Mitchell signing off, and I will see you in a future video. And until then, take care, be well, and have a great day.